Hello folks, welcome to this series of AWS services. In the last few videos we talked about load balancers. In this particular video we are going to talk about Autoscaling Group. So in the load balancer we saw that how the traffic can be distributed across multiple servers if the load is very high. All the servers can register themselves to the ELB, and then whatever traffic is coming to the ELB, that will be distributed across those instances. ELB will be able to do the health check, etc. If an instance goes down, it will stop delivering the traffic to that particular instance. But that may not be solving my purpose. In a truly automated way, if an instance is going down, then just stopping the traffic to that particular instance may not be enough. I should even be able to launch a new instance which can take its place. If the demand is high, new instances should be spinned up. And this is precisely what Autoscaling Group is for. So using Autoscaling Group, you can launch a number of instances, and based on the demand, your group of instances can scale out, which is increase the number of instances, or scale in, which means decrease the number of instances. So all of that should happen dynamically without any manual intervention. So Autoscaling Group provides us this facility where you can not only increase or decrease the number of instances based on the demand dynamically, but you can also keep the number of instances constant, which means if an instance goes down out of a group of instances, it can spin up new instance to take the place of unhealthy instance. So to elaborate in a better way, suppose we have got two instances and we have got one elastic load balancer which is distributing the traffic. Now suddenly the amount of traffic has increased to such an extent that we need new instances. So in that case, we want now 4 instances instead of just 2 instances. To achieve that, we will use Autoscaling Group. In an Autoscaling Group, we can configure it with minimum number of instances, maximum number of instances, and desired number of instances. So desired number of instances will vary between minimum number of instance and maximum number of instance based on the demand. And how do you define the demand? The demand can be defined based on certain metrics. For example, higher CPU utilization would mean higher demand. High number of read disk can also mean high demand. So we can define our metrics, and based on these metrics, our Autoscaling Group can decide whether it needs to increase the number of instance or decrease the number of instance. So in this particular example, we can keep the minimum number of instance 2 and maximum number of instance 10, and desired number of instance somewhere in between could be 4. So when the demand increases, the desired number of instance can be set to increase. So my configuration of desired number of instance can automatically increase, and since my current number of instance is just 4, and the desired number of instances is 6, so it will spin up 2 new instances and it will come out to be like this. So of course all the instances in an Autoscaling Group would normally be of the same type. These instances can span across multiple availability zones, but the Autoscaling Group in itself cannot go beyond a region. So please keep that in mind. While scaling out or scaling in, Autoscaling Group takes care about the distribution of instances across availability zones, in the sense that it will try to keep all the availability zones balanced, which means, like in this example, if you've got 4 instances and now you need to launch 2 new instances, then it will launch 1 instance in each availability zone. So by default, Autoscaling Group tries to keep the number of instances in all the availability zones almost equal as far as possible. So this would also be true in the case of scale in, which means reducing the number of instances, which would often be in the case when you have got reduced demand. In that case, Autoscaling Group can automatically terminate instances as well. And while terminating instances, it can follow a certain termination policy. Having said that, it would still try to keep the number of instances across availability zones almost equal. Now an important question you might ask is that if Autoscaling Group is automatically launching the instance, how does it configure those two instances? That is a valid question. So Autoscaling Group feature provides something called launch configuration. Autoscaling Group uses launch configuration, and in the launch configuration, you need to provide the information like what would be the instance type, what would be the AMI, and all other configuration parameters that you do while launching an EC2 instance. For example, bootstrap script which will be part of this feature. So using Bootstrap script, the EC2 instances would be launched, and as soon as they are launched, they would be prepared to take place of any other web server. So from high level point of view, in autoscaling, we have got three parts. One is the launch configuration, where you tell what kind of EC2 instance should be there and how that EC2 instance should be prepared so that it can start working as soon as it comes into the existence. Then second is your autoscaling group, which defines the minimum number of instance, maximum number of instance, and the desired number of instance. The third part is scaling policy, which basically tells that how to scale out and how to scale in. So we'll see all of this practically in the next video, but for now some more features of the autoscaling. So autoscaling can work very well with your load balancers. You can directly attach a load balancer with our autoscaling group, and whenever a new instance is being launched by autoscaling group, the load balancer will automatically register that instance with itself and start distributing traffic towards that instance. Same goes when we talk about scale in. If a particular instance is being removed or terminated from autoscaling group, then the attached load balancer will stop giving the traffic to that particular instance. Now, other than dynamic scaling, which is basically scaling based on the demand, autoscaling also provides a feature called scheduled scaling. So suppose that you know on a certain day between a certain time, you might need more number of desired instances. If you are an e-commerce website, you can think about a sale. So suppose you know that there would be a Christmas Day sale, and on that day your server would experience a lot of traffic, maybe multiple times than your usual traffic. So in that case, we can schedule the scaling in advance. We can configure that on a particular day from this particular time to that particular time. In that time window, we can change our minimum, maximum and desired number of instances. After that time is over, it will come back to normal. So scaling doesn't have to be always dynamic. If you can predict that there would be a need of scaling, then you can do it by using schedule action plan. So that's all we have in this video. In the next video, we are going to create an autoscaling group and we'll explore it more about scaling and scaling policies. So see you soon in the next video. Thank you for watching.